At the beginning of the movie, we see a couple who have come hiking in a forest, but they end up getting lost and start looking for help, especially since the wife has injured her leg. After walking for a while, they spot a large house deep in the woods. The husband leaves his wife outside and goes inside the house to look for help. The main door is locked, so he enters through the basement. Inside the house is completely empty, and the telephone line isn't working either. Meanwhile, outside, the wife notices something in an upstairs room. We then see someone secretly recording her with a camcorder. Inside the house, the husband hears a noise coming from the upper floor and goes to check it out. At the same time, we notice something strange. When the wife looks directly at the camcorder, she suddenly becomes possessed. After this, the scene shifts. We are introduced to an orphan girl named Abby and her foster brother Steve. Steve has come to Abby's apartment, which actually belongs to her foster sister, Laura. And Abby has been secretly staying there. Steve is there for a reason. He's a private investigator. He tells Abby that they've finally found information about her real parents and gives her the contact number of a child care officer. Abby calls the officer, who later visits her, and reveals that her parents are no longer alive. However, their house is still intact and Abby is the rightful heir to it. This means she no longer has to live in someone else's place. She can even sell the house if she wants. At first, Abby doesn't plan to sell it. But after Laura calls and verbally abuses her, Abby decides to sell the house, move to the city, and buy a small apartment where she can live peacefully. After this, without wasting any time, Abby packs her belongings and heads out to check on her house. The house is located deep in a remote, isolated forest far away from the city. There's no taxi service available to get there, so after getting off at the train station, Abby stops by a bar. But the people there aren't happy to see her at all. They all refuse to give her a ride. However, a guy named Kyle agrees to drop her off at her house. Kyle tells Abby that no one likes to go anywhere near that place, which is why no one was willing to help her. So the problem wasn't Abby. It was the location of the house itself. We also noticed that Abby and Kyle seem to like each other, but Kyle has work to do, so he eventually leaves. After that, Abby goes inside the house and carefully checks everything. The house itself is in decent condition, but everything inside is scattered and messy. She even finds an old bottle of alcohol. Abby continues exploring and heads upstairs, where she finds her old swing with a doll placed inside it. Near the window, there's a camcorder, and inside a box, she discovers a bunch of tapes. This is the same house shown at the beginning of the movie, and it turns out someone had been recording that mysterious lady using that camcorder. Anyway, after this, Abby gets a call from Steve and steps outside. Steve tells her that he got a call from a real estate agent who can help sell the house. He asks Abby to send some pictures of the property, then hangs up as Abby heads back inside. She notices someone in the upstairs room, but she brushes it off, thinking it's just her imagination. Later that night, Abby connects the camcorder to a TV and starts watching the tapes. The recordings show her mother, Cameron, and her father, Jason. Seeing them makes Abby really happy. One strange detail, though Cameron and Abby look almost exactly alike. As Abby continues watching, she suddenly notices a glitch on her mother's face. In one of the tapes, for a split second, it looks like another woman's face is overlapping Cameron's, and that face is staring directly at Abby. But Abby is too emotional and distracted to pay much attention, and she keeps watching the tapes until she eventually falls asleep. While Abby is asleep, we see someone standing outside her room watching, and then silently, they walk away. The next morning, Abby tries on her mother's dress and finds a report revealing that her father, Jason, had a neurological condition and didn't have long to live. Later, Abby goes out for a jog, comes back, and takes pictures of the house so she can sell it. After that, she goes to take a shower, but when she comes back, she hears footsteps coming from downstairs. She goes to check and notices that the camcorder is now lying near the window. When she looks through it, she sees something terrifying. A man standing outside the window. But that man was only visible through the camcorder. So Abby assumes the camcorder might just be malfunctioning, since it's quite old anyway. Shortly after Kyle shows up, He came to check if Abby was okay, but Abby starts questioning him about what really happened to her parents. Instead of answering directly, Kyle tries to lighten her mood and takes her to a pub where he plans to explain everything. There, Kyle tells Abby that she'll have to uncover the truth about her parents on her own. He then shows her an old news video, and Abby learns that many years ago, her parents died by suicide, basically by setting themselves on fire. Abby, however, somehow survived, but the mystery behind it remains unsolved. The most terrifying part? 13 bodies were found in that same house, all badly disfigured, and they were all her mother's patients, Cameron. Abby's mom was a therapist. As for Jason, only his teeth were recovered, because the rest of his body was completely burned. That's the reason people in town dislike Abby. In fact, they avoid even going near that house. They believe Abby's mother was a witch, and that Abby is one too, just like her. Suddenly a man shows up and starts yelling at Abby, telling her to leave. Kyle steps in and takes Abby away from there. He drops her home, but Abby invites him inside. They talk for a bit, and Kyle places his cap on the table. It's clear they have feelings for each other, and things start to get intimate. Later that night, while Abby is asleep, Kyle quietly gets up to leave, but then he hears a TV playing in another room. When he goes to check, he sees something shocking. The TV is playing his own live footage. At first, he thinks it's some kind of prank, but the moment he looks toward the camcorder, something takes over him. Just like the possessed woman from the beginning, on the TV, we see two demonic hands grab Kyle's face and rip it apart from the middle. But those hands are only visible on the screen. The next morning, Abby realizes that Kyle is nowhere to be found. Worried, she goes to check the tapes and discovers another box filled with recordings of Cameron's therapy sessions with her patients. She first plays a tape of a man named Adam, and everything seems completely normal. But then she plays another tape, this time of a patient named Kevin. In it, the man appears terrified. He claims that a demon is living inside his body. However, Cameron, who is Abby's mother, doesn't believe him. Suddenly, the man becomes possessed. His behavior changes instantly, as if something truly evil has taken over him. He is now speaking directly to Cameron. The most shocking part, this evil entity somehow knows that Cameron is pregnant, she's going to have a daughter. Then, out of nowhere, the man looks straight into the camcorder, as if he's looking directly at Abby herself. Speaking through him, the entity tells Cameron that her baby looks just like him. Moments later, the man snaps out of the possession, starts reacting the same way Kyle did before. And just like that, the tape abruptly ends. This means that the demon had already seen Cameron's future. Years ago, terrified, Abby tells Steve everything. Steve urges her to come back, but Abby refuses. Instead, she starts going through Cameron's notes. In one of them, it's written that the camcorder itself might be evil, and that it can somehow see into hell. Abby then picks up the camcorder and turns it on, deciding to record everything, but what she sees through the lens shocks her. There are blood stains all over the walls of the house. On one wall, there's a strange symbol, the symbol of Baphomet, possibly a sign of the devil himself. Still holding the camcorder, Abby slowly makes her way up to the attic, where she finds a lone chair. As she scans the room through the camera, she suddenly sees something behind her. Terrified, Abby runs out of the house. Outside, she runs into Kyle's sister Paige, who has come looking for him since he never returned home the previous night. She reveals that Kyle had posted online, saying he slept with a witch, and that witch was Abby, who was seen sleeping in the post. Abby insists that Kyle left the house the night before. But inside, Paige notices Kyle's cap lying on the table. She doesn't say anything and quietly leaves. After Paige is gone, Abby discovers more recordings in Cameron's notes, this time involving a man named Dr. Frank. He warns Cameron that the camcorder itself is evil, and that the same demon that possessed Kevin may have now turned the camera into its vessel. Frank tells Cameron that until the camcorder situation is fully dealt with, she must not record any patients using that camcorder, because it could cause serious problems. Meanwhile, we see Paige, who has secretly entered a house. She hears a noise coming from the attic, so she goes upstairs to check. There, she finds a camcorder lying on the floor. When she plays it, she witnesses Kyle's painful death. Suddenly, someone knocks Paige unconscious. On the other side, Abby finds another box that belonged to her father, Jason. Inside, there are a lot of tapes. When Abby brings a camcorder down from the attic and starts playing those tapes, she realizes that everyone Jason had recorded with that camcorder was killed by the demon, including her own mother. The same hands that tore Kyle's face apart belonged to that demon. In the final tape, Abby discovers something shocking her father. Jason actually intended to kill her, but Cameron had already put Abby into a safe state beforehand, which is why Jason recorded Cameron with the camcorder. Later, the demon killed Cameron as well. After seeing all this, Abby is terrified. She goes outside and starts burning all the tapes in the camcorder, but then she remembers that her mother is still inside the house. Wanting to see her one last time, she decides not to burn the camcorder. Meanwhile, Steve is doing his own investigation. He finds out that 2 years ago, a man escaped from a mental hospital, and that man was actually Jason, Abby's father. Yes, Jason had pulled out all his teeth and placed them on another man's body, removing that man's teeth to make it look like he was dead, essentially staging his own death. After escaping, Jason eventually lost his sanity due to a neurological condition and was taken back to a mental hospital, though no one knew his true identity. But when Steve matches the photo, he realizes that the mental patient is Jason, Abby's father, who has been secretly living inside the house ever since he escaped. That means, from the very beginning, the person recording everything with the camcorder and the shadow people kept seeing was Jason himself. In fact, the one watching Abby while she slept was also Jason, anyway, using the camcorder. Abby is now able to see the spirits of everyone who was killed by the demon inside the house. She even sees her mother Cameron's spirit and follows it all the way to the barn. A terrible stench is coming from inside the barn. As Abby follows Cameron's spirit into it, she finally comes face to face with her father Jason. And there we also see the dead bodies of the couple who were killed at the beginning of the movie. Anyway, Jason knocks Abby unconscious and ties her up. At the same time, he had already tied up Paige, meaning Jason was the one who knocked Paige out too. Now he places that camcorder in front of Paige and turns it on, and the demon kills Paige as well. Basically, Jason was offering everyone a sacrifices just then. Steve arrives to save Abby and starts searching for her inside the house, but Jason knocks him unconscious too. After that, Jason returns to Abby and throws a pair of scissors in front of her before walking away. Abby still doesn't realize that Jason is actually her father. She manages to free herself. And as soon as she gets out of her restraints, she notices Steve's car parked outside. She quickly runs back into the house, grabs a knife, and heads upstairs to the room where Steve is. There, Steve is chained up, and Jason is standing nearby holding the camcorder. He tells Abby to throw the knife, and she does because she knows exactly what can happen. If the camcorder is turned on, the moment it's activated, the demon would kill Steve too. That's when Jason finally reveals the truth. He's her father, and everything he's done was to save her. He tells Abby to turn on the camcorder and sacrifice Steve. And now everything starts to make sense. Jason wasn't actually killing those people. He was sacrificing them. Those sacrifices are the reason he's been alive all these years. His condition is genetic, which means Abby has it too. And he's been trying to save her the same way, by making sacrifices since her childhood. Abby is completely confused and doesn't know what to do. Just then, she sees Cameron inside the camcorder, who tells her to turn it on if she wants to survive. But instead, Abby turns the camcorder toward Jason, and the demon kills him. As Jason collapses to the floor, the camcorder falls and ends up facing both Steve and Abby. Abby quickly turns it off. This reveals the demon's real trick. It manipulated them into making countless sacrifices. It had already convinced them that Jason's condition could pass on to Abby, forcing them to keep sacrificing people just to stay alive, as mentioned earlier. Jason could have died at any moment, but these sacrifices kept him alive. After that, Abby frees Steve, and the two of them leave the house. Abby tells Steve everything, that she has the same neurological condition as Jason. Then they burn the camcorder. Later, Steve goes back inside to collect his belongings. Meanwhile, Abby hears someone whistling from a distance. She follows the sound and sees a man. The same one the demon had killed earlier, but without the camcorder, it's impossible to see spirits. That's when Abby realizes it's the same man she had seen outside the window. Through the camcorder before, she breaks down crying, calling out for Steve. And just then, the movie hits you with a shocking twist. Steve runs out onto the balcony, where Abby looks up and sees the spirits of Jason and Cameron in the upstairs window. Then it's revealed that when the camcorder fell earlier, it actually recorded Abby and Steve, and at that very moment, the demon killed both of them. The terrifying part, they don't even remember it happening. This also means the camcorder is still intact, and the cycle is far from over. Anyone the demon kills gets trapped inside its personal hell, almost like they've been sacrificed to it. The spirits don't even realize they're dead until much later, and now Abby and Steve have become part of those very victims the demon claimed before. In other words, this evil camera will keep hunting new victims. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and also subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.